O'Brien.
What's going on, everyone? This is Jacob Shoup. You're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. TGIF, as Tom would always say. Man, what a weird market. You're getting a little bounce today, right? Take a look at the SPY right now. You can see the volume is actually, somewhat decent. Pretty big bar up here, but definitely resisting, kind of this downward trend that we saw. Not downward trend, but a breaking of the upward trend. It's quad witching, so potentially you get a lot of short covering, moving stuff up. Like I'm looking at RCAT right now. It's the same thing happened with this stock today, and I got out of this just for a slight profit. But let me see here. I mean, you just kind of had this momentary movement up. I mean, I think I sold this up around here. Yeah, so you've gotten a little bit more volatility throughout the rest of the day. But I mean, you're starting pretty early in the morning. Extremely low, and just this constant kind of move upward, very slow, caps at 1132. I'm done with this thing. Lucky call on it because it just starts coming right back down. And I don't think that, something like this is indicative of any bullish sentiment. It's kind of just coverage. I think what we have to do today with the SPY, going into Monday, I can see this, maybe moving up a little bit more through the beginning of next week. I mean, we have a short week, So, I mean, maybe they just dump it right after Christmas, but I don't think this is the end of a downward movement in the SPY, at least in the short term. I'm not very bearish on the long run, but I do see some level of correction. I mean, this is a decent one, right? You see what happens, though. You have around August, right? Big dump coming down, a huge volume. We have the SPY trading right at 112 at 592. Let's see what else we got going on. The composite up about 1.47% at 19,653. You get the Dow Jones Industrial up about 1.5%, 42,977. It's also moving up a little bit. Crude oil sideways, 69.46, and then you get the Russell futures about 1.28 at 2,274. You have the gold contract up about 1.45% at 2,645, with silver up 2.46, trading at 30.13. You have copper trading at $4.10, up about 0.64. Look at this freaky movement in Lucid as well. Same kind of deal. I'm not really sure that's Lucid catching any major bid at all, but you are trading up 14.8% at 38 cents. Oh man, what are we taking a look at? I mean, I've been looking at, I could talk about Nebius a tad. There's nothing really new on it. Let me see here. 0.81%, which is some nice movement to the upside for the stock. It looks like it wants to test this $25 area, right? Where it's just kind of low from that breakout there. It's kind of unfortunate that for me, long term, this stock makes sense in a major way. I think it's just set up. I think at $4 billion, it's very good. They're projecting a 500 million to 1 billion ARR by the middle of next year. These data centers are going to be built out. This stuff's going to be in data centers. They are servicing Europe, breaking into America. I believe they're in Albuquerque for their first kind of foray into the States. I think this gets somewhat of a catalyst when CoreWeave drops an IPO, if they do, in January. And again, I think leadership is amazing at this company. I think they have cash. I think they have no debt. And I think they have a product that's in demand. Couple hundred engineers working for them and everything. So it's kind of cool. And it's unfortunate that it just hasn't been getting any kind of bid recently. It's just not attractive right now, I think, for a lot of people. But I do think that changes beginning of next year. Another stock that I'm looking at, well, first, let's talk a little bit about Novo Nordisk. What a mess up here for them. It's kind of unfortunate. So it's off 17.19% at 85.65. This was the major GDP for Denmark, which is unfortunate. I think it was the largest company out of there. But their kind of drugs didn't really work, which is unfortunate. Let me see here. Yeah, so it's a trial result for CagriSema. And it just didn't work. So in a late-stage study, a next-generation obesity drug called CagriSema led patients to lose 20% of their weight at 68 weeks. As the company's own projection, 25% weight loss. Novo stock tanked nearly 18% midday. So it's a combination of semaglutide and cagrilintide, which is just something else they do. Activates amylin and calcitonin receptors. But I guess it didn't burn out exactly how they wanted it to. You take a look at HIMSS as well. Still, these guys are struggling a little bit at this area. I don't know if this really catches a bid again. You know, if any bump up on this news is driving HIMSS, which it's not, which means the market's kind of aware of what's going on then, you know, I still wouldn't find this fantastic. We'll see what happens with that compound, the generic drug that they're going to compound, same kind of deal, GLP-1. It is a Novo Nordisk drug as well, and see if they can kind of save some of their hide on that. Because once semaglutide gets off the shortage list, we'll see that the FDA comes down very heavily on these guys. And so I think it's kind of, for me, I mean, 5.5 billion, that's what a move up, right? Because I mean, we're looking like in August at this company. I'll take a closer look maybe on the weekend or over Christmas, see if there's like just kind of review my opinion on HIMSS. I'm not in it right now, but people like this stock, which, you know, doesn't necessarily mean anything beyond there's attention to it. And so, you know, big news can kind of move this thing or any potential. Kind of on that note as well, I don't know how close we're into the break, taking a look at GSAT. This is interesting. They're up 6.12% today. This is, again, another satellite company, which it seems like people are really getting into, even, you know, larger companies as well. I wonder if we're going to start expanding like LEO in a major way. You're kind of seeing it start with SpaceX. Of course, you're seeing things like WiseKey move up, ASTS. I don't know how that's doing today. Yeah, but the hype around developing space is becoming huge. And so this communications with GSAT, they're partnering up with Apple, and they have for quite a while, basically provide service. You know, I mean, you're getting these like smartwatches as well that in theory are able to make satellite calls, which might be Apple's kind of new angle right now. If they're not developing any new tech, you have AI and then maybe the potential to, you know, just normally call satellite. We'll talk a little bit about GSAT, why it's kind of interesting when we get back from the break.